Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are diving into something I found just incredibly fascinating, building a 30-day sound wellness plan. You know, if you've ever relied on white noise, soft sounds, or ASMR just to catch a few desperate hours of sleep, this framework is a real game changer. It completely flips how we use these tools, taking what is usually just a random, desperate habit and turning it into an actual, structured wellness protocol.
I mean, think about it for a second. What would actually happen if you use sound intentionally for a full 30 days? Imagine moving away from that whole routine where you're just mindlessly chasing tingles or scrolling at 2 a.m. trying to find that one magical video that finally works. What if there was a purposeful, structured system behind it all? Well, as you'll see, the results of doing this intentionally are actually pretty profound. Okay, let's dive into this. Most of us are totally stuck in that chaotic, endless scrolling loop. We've all been there, right? You're absolutely exhausted, desperately hunting for that one perfect rain sound at 3 a.m., and you end up awake for another whole hour just searching. It's so frustrating. This blueprint offers a totally different path. We're talking about stepping away from just consuming random audio and instead following a structured protocol to actively support our day-to-day well-being.
So here is the clear blueprint for our explainer today. We'll be covering the intentional sound approach, tracking your sound profile, building your new routine, mastering trigger rotation, and finally, guidelines for safe listening.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the intentional sound approach. Now, before we get into the actual how-to, I really wanted to establish the scientific foundation behind why intentional sound usage actually works. Because it turns out this isn't just some internet fad. Research by Poerio and colleagues back in 2018 actually found that ASMR responders showed a physically reduced heart rate and an improved mood when viewing this kind of content. And when you combine that with findings from Barratt and Davis showing how successfully people use these sounds to aid relaxation and sleep, the science paints a really clear picture. Sound can literally, physically anchor us. And this brilliantly illustrates the 4 phases of our protocol. It's a 30-day progression starting with step 1, assess, then build, rotate, and finally refine. It takes us all the way from simple observation to creating a beautifully refined, sustainable routine over a full month. So let's break down exactly how this works week by week. Which brings us to section 2, tracking your sound profile. Okay, we are now in the critical week 1 phase. And the most surprising rule here is do not change your habits yet. The goal right now isn't to fix anything. It's just to actively observe and measure. You don't need a complicated spreadsheet for this, just a super simple 1 to 5 scale tracker. Every day, note the trigger you used, like rain or soft whispers, and rate how fast you fell asleep and what your stress levels were like. Tracking this for just 7 days is going to reveal what your body actually responds to, rather than what you just assume works. Moving on to section 3, building your new routine. Entering week 2 of the blueprint, the focus shifts to picking a single goal based on that tracking you just did. Maybe it's better sleep, less stress, or deeper focus. Whatever it is, you tie it to a single sound cue. And to make that stick, we look at science from Lally and colleagues showing that habits form through repeated performance in stable contexts. This is huge. The secret to making this routine automatic is keeping the context completely stable. Same time, same safe volume, same environment. Doing this actively conditions your brain to associate that specific sound with your goal. All right, section 4, mastering trigger rotation. So week 3 tackles a problem pretty much everyone runs into eventually. What happens when your favorite sound just suddenly stops working? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the clinical term for this fading effect. It's called trigger tolerance. It's a diminished physical or psychological response caused by repeated, unvarying exposure. And, our natural instinct when this happens is to just crank the volume up or find faster, much more intense videos. But the protocol warns against that trap. The real solution isn't constantly escalating the intensity, it's intentionally rotating your sound categories. Setting up a rotation schedule like this sample week 3 schedule keeps things fresh. For instance, you might do a soft voice on night 1, rain on night 2, and physical page turning on night 3. Maybe night 4 is a guided body scan, night 5 is just silence or plain white noise, and night 6 is when you finally bring back your absolute favorite trigger. Taking a break on night 7 with very low stimulation is absolutely key too. Rotating triggers like this keeps your nervous system wonderfully responsive, and it stops ASMR from becoming a constant, exhausting chase.
Now for our final section, section 5, guidelines for safe listening.
This brings us to the final and quite literally the most crucial boundary of the entire plan. So the crucial point is you absolutely must keep the volume safe. The framework is crystal clear that you have to actively protect your hearing by never, ever exceeding safe listening limits, especially if you fall asleep with headphones on. Cranking up the volume to overcome that trigger tolerance we just talked about is genuinely dangerous for your long-term hearing. Maintaining a safe volume is the absolute, non-negotiable foundation of sound wellness. Now, beyond volume, there are a few other essential guardrails here that really separate a healthy sound protocol from unhealthy binge watching and sleep disruption. The plan strongly recommends turning off autoplay. You don't want videos messing with your sleep cycles all night. It also suggests choosing your video before you're totally exhausted to avoid that endless scrolling trap we talked about earlier. Always track your actual results, not just how you feel in the moment. And finally, let the routine be flexible.
It's also incredibly important to recognize what sound wellness simply cannot do. I have to deliver a vital disclaimer here. ASMR and sound routines are complementary tools. They are not a medical cure. If you are dealing with persistent or severe insomnia, severe anxiety, clinical depression, or trauma symptoms, the protocol strongly advises seeking support from a qualified healthcare professional. These routines are wonderful additions to your life, but persistent symptoms require proper medical guidance.
Let's move to and see how this builds into your final month. Week 4 is all about refining. This is where you look back at those tracking notes from week 1. Which sounds actually helped your sleep? Which sessions just made you scroll longer? The goal is to keep only what works and discard the rest, basically removing anything that creates friction. By doing this, you're building a highly personalized, sustainable routine that is infinitely more valuable to you than any generic list of top ASMR triggers you might find online. Adding this kind of intentionality to how we consume sound really changes the whole shebang. So, what does this all mean for you? I want to leave you with this question. What is your sound wellness goal for the next month? Is it better sleep, less stress, deeper focus, or just more calm? Let me know your answer in the comments below. And hey, if you found this explainer helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.